Hello everyone and welcome. This is a video about the game New World, recently released by Amazon Studios. It's a short showcase of a couple of routes I have to collect some raw materials within the game. So a lot of new players are typically asking where they can find iron ore and fibers that come from the hemp plant. So I have a couple of routes that I think are quite efficient in stocking up on these raw materials. So I'm going to share them with you today, and hopefully this will be of use. So we'll start with iron ore. And as you can see, we are in the village of Everfall. This will be our starting point, and we're going to take the eastern exit. And while we're going out, I'm going to show you, we're going to be focusing on these two areas over here, as they contain quite a few iron ore nodes. And typically, even when it's during the busy hours of the game, I'm always able to fill up my bags quite well with this route. So it's quite efficient, and if you're lucky enough to be the only one farming this route, then you're going to get that much more. So what I normally do is I'm going to walk to the center of the very first area. And this is a good opportunity to practice another game mechanic that I think might be quite useful throughout the whole of the game, which is using your Alt key to look left and right while you are auto running. So we are going to start the run here, and we are auto running. And you can see we immediately land our very first iron vein node. And while we are mining this, we can also practice the look so that we can try and spot any other nodes on the way. Usually there can be anywhere between 1 and 3 sets of iron ore nodes on this path, depending on how many players are farming it. It's usually best to do it when it's bright, because iron ore is very brownish, so it tends to stick out in the background. So we'll see if we might not find just one more, or maybe it will be just the one for this run. So what we're going to do is we're just going to run up in case we get lucky and we catch a respawn of an iron ore vein while we are going up to set the next part of the journey. So we keep looking left, we keep looking right, and maybe we'll get lucky. It can take a little bit of getting used to. Sometimes doing this left and right panning. So we ended up with just one set of 2 veins this time around. Hopefully the next leg of the journey is going to be a bit better. Having corruptions tends to make things a bit trickier, because the corruptions cover some of the area, and it becomes more difficult to spot the resource. But we'll go through it and we'll see what happens. So this leg of the run can see you mining anywhere between half a dozen to a dozen iron vein nodes. So we're going to just skip this corruption breach for now, but typically you will find a few nodes in this area. So we're just going to proceed ahead, and we land on our very first one. So when you do the run a few times, you eventually get a feel for where these nodes are, so you'll just be able to run straight to them. I still like doing the central run through the middle and just panning left and right, because it's good practice for when I'm out and about in the world, because when you are in different areas, Sometimes you find something, sometimes you don't, but it always helps to be on the lookout. And we can already see where our next target is. So if you stick to the middle of the section, then you should be able to spot all of the nodes fairly easily, particularly when it's daytime. It's nighttime at the moment, and you can still see that the nodes are quite visible in contrast. And this area is relatively flat. It does not have as many uphills and downhills, so it makes it a bit easier to spot the nodes. So we try to stick to the middle, and we can see the next target over here, which we just spotted as we panned left. We're going to go and collect that, and I think we're already doing pretty well on this run. We haven't come across any other players apart from the one at the very beginning who might have actually mined some of the iron vein nodes there. And we already have almost 500, and we still have a potential fair few nodes that can show up on our way. So we'll continue panning left and right, and we have our next one. Now, even when this area is well traversed, you can still get lucky with veins spawning as you run by and pan left and right, so it's quite useful to be on the lookout. Of course, if you just want to memorize where all the veins are and just check them methodically, you can do that. As I mentioned, I prefer just keep looking, as it's good practice for when you're out and about in the world. And we've just spotted another one, which is actually stood out quite a lot in that bright red background. So full disclosure, it's 8 o'clock in the morning for me at the moment, which explains why there might not be so many players out and about. But as I mentioned, even when you have other people running around, you'd still tend to get quite a few iron vein nodes using this route. So we are going to try and catch another one, and he's just waiting for us right over here. Oh, and we got to 125 mining in the process, which is quite good. We can now track star metal veins. So we're going to make our way up between the two corruptions. Now, if the corruptions weren't there, there might have been another couple of iron vein nodes that we would have found on the way, but for now we're just going to skip these, as I'm just showcasing the route, not so much the absolute fullest potential of it in trying to find every single node there is. Now, usually there will be one at the very end of the route, so we're going to go all the way up and see what we find. Even if there isn't, we've already collected a fair bit, so I'm quite happy with this particular run. We are currently about 9 minutes in, so if we manage to find one, and here it is, that's going to be a full run from just around 10 minutes. Now from here there are a couple of options. So what you might do is just run all the way back on the same route until you fuel your bags, and then unload at Everhole, and then just rinse and repeat. What I normally do is, as you can see, I filled up half of my bags with just about 1000 ore, So I'm going to walk to this Bear Claw Shrine, and I'm going to show you the second leg of this route. If you're lucky, there are also a couple of nodes that can spawn right next to the shrine, so that can give you a little more iron ore. On average, I tend to end up with at least around 1,000 ore when doing one of these 10-minute runs. So I think that's quite good. You can probably average some 5,000-6,000 ore if you just rinse and repeat, do it over an hour or so. I haven't exactly tried doing that because after a while it becomes a bit boring and you want to do something else. But I think it's a very good route for stocking up. And what I normally also do while I'm running this route is I would kill some cats so I can get some leather as well. So let's see if we'll get lucky on any nodes around the shrine. There are players here, so they would have probably already collected these, but we'll just do a quick circle, see if there isn't anything here, just in case. There's usually some nodes that spawn in this general area. No, we see one player here, so he would have likely already collected them. So we're going to head back to the shrine,